Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to WatchYouWant.com. Thanks for logging on. Start your engines. Race fans, this is one for you. If you always liked the driver-themed Royal Oak Offshore limited editions, Audemars Piguet came right back at you in 2010 with this classic, the Royal Oak Offshore Grand Prix limited edition, available in a number of materials and styles. The bottom line was, if you wanted the most authentic motorsports tribute, you wanted the forged carbon titanium example you see right here. This is the reference 262910.00, forged carbon, ceramic, and titanium. This thing is redolent of motorsports motifs and motorsports materials. As a 44mm, it's the successor to the famed Royal Oak Offshore limited edition Juan Pablo Montoya and the Rubens Barrichello that came after it. It carries a lot of the bold proportions and details of those classic motorsports models and adds a few wrinkles of its own, principally in the depth of the dial and the combination of dynamic materials and different finishes to bring out all of those different layers of nuance. So let's just break into what makes this watch special. In 2010, the watch debuted as part of a limited edition of 1,750 units. So this is a limited edition of 1,750, 44 millimeters. This is one of the most memorable installments of Audemars Piguet's forged carbon series. Now that's a technology they developed in-house. Basically, you take the carbon material that's used pervasively in modern Formula One and motorsports generally, you put it into a mold, layer it up for strength, and then you cure it at high temperature under high pressure, and it creates a very sharply defined composite where you can see the original constituent materials embedded within it, but it's seamless under the fingers. It doesn't feel like it has the texture of something made up of a compound of resin and fibers and woven cloth. It's just seamless with the look that is completely unique. Each one is individual because of the way the fibers compress and layer over each other. No two of these are exactly the same. So though it is a limited edition of 1,750, there is not a second one that features this same case style, this same impression of the forged carbon layering. And that continues on the bezel, which is really the anchor of the whole design. The bezel is octagonal, like all Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshores and Royal Oaks before them. But the change here is that you have several layers, starting with ceramic, and then on top of that you feature a forged carbon sort of relieved element that's been inset with white gold bezel bolts, again, a Royal Oak and Offshore signature, but here each of them in the shape of an automotive lug nut, motorsport style. Now from the side you can see that there's a great deal going on here, as this bezel also apes the design of an automotive disc brake of the vented sort used in high-performance automobiles, particularly racing cars. Now the bezel is massive, but it's the first of a series of layers that leads you into the heart of this dial. From the bezel, with its white gold lug nut bezel bolts, we step inward to the bronzed tachometer scale. That's part of the use of color that really defines this model as one of the most dynamic Royal Oak Offshore limited editions. This one's not shy. This is no wilting daisy. This is not a discreet watch. This thing's loud and proud, so get used to it. The combination of black and bronze and red and yellow gives this watch a multi-layered appearance of concentric circles from the bezel to the tachometer to the minute scale to the inner dial to the mega tapisserie red metallic inner dial that forms the heart of the whole assembly. Now the red metallic tapisserie is important because that's the only portion that echoes the iconic Audemars Piguet waffle pattern that's been present on every major Royal Oak and Royal Oak Offshore edition since the inception of the Oak back in '72 and the Offshore in 1993. So that's the tie to the roots of the model, but the elaboration, the motorsports themes, they're all over here. Now you can see the entire minute scale and the hour indexes are indexed like an automotive speedometer, and then the subdials also ape automotive instruments. Now if you've seen the inside of a modern Ferrari, you're going to feel right at home here, because each one of these subdials, with its sectioned calibrations, its use of multiple colors to demarcate different periods of time, looks like a modern automotive instrument panel, particularly the sort used in very high performance cars. It's entertaining to look at, and the fact that all three subdials are different adds a lot of visual interest to the watch. Now turning it on its side, you see that the watch's case is just as intricately layered as the bezel itself. Again, the use of hex screws apes motorsports and automotive lug nuts along the flanks here by the pushers, but you can also see that the combination of the pushers and the different layers of the crown guard, which is extensively relieved and milled out, looks like the diffuser section of a Formula One car. And that's no coincidence, because on the opposite flank you can see that the forged carbon case looks like the splitter and front wing of a Formula One car. So you sort of have that coming and going aesthetic, with the pushers themselves acting as the exhaust stacks of the F1 car. To continue our little visual metaphor here. Now there is another one. I'm going to draw attention to this strap, which is a combination of Cordura, suede-like material that's frequently featured in high-performance Recaro and Sparco driving seats, but also a gorgeous calfskin leather that's very supple. And the combination of the two together looks a lot like the Nomex driving suits that drivers in sports cars and Formula One use. And even the strap plots that join the strap to the sides of the forged carbon case have been stylized here to resemble automotive gas pedals. So when you're ready to put pedal to the metal, you strap this one on. That's the idea. And I gotta say, this is one of the most cohesive, best executed Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore limited editions I've seen. Because right on the case back, you see the continuity. It mirrors the front. You've got that multi-spoked case back sapphire, here held on by matching white gold bolts. It really does a great job of bookending the design of this watch. It mirrors the front without duplicating it exactly, whereas this watch is sort of, it features bolts that are sort of sunk into the bezel. Here you have the case back that's relieved around the bolts, and they sort of rise above the case back itself. For contrast, but again, thematic continuity. Now, the movement itself is revealed by a sapphire crystal, and there are a few wrinkles here. Principally, the distinction between the typical engraved Audemars Piguet winding rotor and this 22-karat blackened gold winding rotor. So you get one more color tone here that you may not have expected. Real gold and this blackened treatment that sets it apart from your run-of-the-mill Audemars Piguet in-house caliber 3126. Now, the 3126's basic virtues are all intact here. Very robust, free-sprung balance, full balance bridge, ceramic winding rotor, 55-hour power reserve, vertical clutch chronograph, decorated as only the Audemars Piguet artisans know how to. This is a fantastic engine, and it's sports watch tough. But then again, with a watch that has a name like Grand Prix, you expect no less. Now, in 2010, this watch debuted to rave reviews. It was really a sort of comeback after a fallow period in the late 2000s when Audemars Piguet was really trying to find its way after kind of overbuilding the offshore limiteds with models like the Survivor, where they were kind of hunting for a theme, and some of those watches just came out a little bit overwrought as AP tried too hard. But they found the magic touch again with the Grand Prix, and that's why, to this day, this remains one of the most coveted and universally collector-respected offshore limited editions, and a modern classic in the offshore range. Check it out with full boxes, papers, and accessories, and this is an interesting box set. Motorsports themed, it's as memorable as the watch itself. See it all in high-resolution imagery on our website, watchyouwant.com.